One of these is genuine and one of these is reproduction. I'm going to show you how to spot which is which. Hi, welcome back to the shed. If it's your first time joining us, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy it and you continue to watch more of my videos. So we are back in the shed and it's been a little while since I've done a video in here. I've been having a real overhaul with a lot of the gear. I've had a lot of projects on that I'm looking forward to sharing with you. I recently did this build with an absolutely awesome looking Game Boy Advance SP. It's got one of the new IPS screens inside it. And the shell originally was quite battered. I've replaced it with this Reproduction Nintendo NES style special edition shell. Now these are really good. Unless you know what you're looking for, it's very hard to spot which is legit and which one's not. Now in my point of view, I think it's good that you can tell the difference between them. I think if they were exactly the same, it'd sort of devalue the originals. But at the same time, being able to have these reproduction ones is awesome because first of all, you're getting to save a battered old Game Boy and make it like new again. Secondly, you know, some of these special editions are really expensive and really hard to track down, so a lot of people can't afford them. So for someone like me to be able to buy this new shell and put it around the original console and make it look this good, that's really awesome. However, I have seen in the past in some kind of second-hand shops, cash converters, CEX, places like that, repro ones, normally like the Zelda one, for sale in the shop, being sold as new, being sold as the original thing. I don't like that. I think it's largely the shops being ignorant. I think it's people going in and trading these in as being the original, knowing full well that it's a copy. So I think it is important being able to tell which is which. Sometimes you'll do that by looking at them side by side, but that's not always the case. So I'm going to tell you today just a few little things that you can be looking out for to be able to tell whether you are being sold an original console or whether it's more likely a repro. But that said, I do really like the repro stuff. I think it's really nice to be able to use it. I think it's just important to be able to tell which is which so people don't get ripped off. Okay, first of all, let's take a look at these because these four are all the same model, but some are real, some are not. If you find one of these and you're thinking about buying one and you don't know if you've got a real one or not, the first dead giveaway is that these were released quite a while ago, so they've probably got a few very light surface scratches on the top. If, like this one, the top is completely mint, that should really either set off the alarm bells or know that you're onto something really awesome. But usually there'll be some slight marks. More commonly, like this one, it is quite marked and scratched, particularly on the corners here where the silver paint's come off a little bit, revealing the grey plastic underneath, or like this one, which is in much better condition, but you can still see those slight scuffs from where it's being put in a bag or down on a surface like that. So that's the first thing. But even then, like this one's got a reproduction shell on that I've had for a while, and there's a couple of little scratches, so that's not a dead cert, but that's certainly the first thing you should be looking for. Secondly, just in the first instance, is if you look at the sticker on the back, it will tell you the model number AGS001. Now I'm not sure they actually made any AGS101, which is the backlit screen of the NES one, but in any case you're looking at the label and the screen no matter what the model is. If it says AGS001 and you open up and look and the screen has this sort of grey colour, then that's the right screen. So that's at least the matching screen to the model, so it shows you're on the right sort of track. If it's something like this SpongeBob one that I've got, the sticker on there is AGS001. If you look at the screen, it's almost black when it's switched off. You compare it to that one, which is kind of grey, you can see the difference, because this one was a repro shell, so I bought the shell, put it on, and although it's got that on the sticker that came with the shell, the actual insides are an AGS 101, which is the backlit screen, which is much brighter, so when you switch on there, you can tell the difference between those two because this one will go much brighter. I'm picking the NES because it's such a good copy. I've got two here, one of which has got one of the new IPS screens, so that's a dead giveaway as well. It's a dark colour like the AGS 101. Also, the logo on these glass screens isn't always quite as crisp as the ones on the original lenses either. Obviously when I switch on with this, it's going to be really bright and the display is bigger than the original. But to be honest, if you find one that's got an IPS screen in it, they'll be shouting about the IPS screen being in there. It's not like that's trying to be passed on as an authentic, you know, original piece. You don't even need that because it's like, look at this amazing backlit screen. This is another one that's in a repro shell, but it also has the original parts inside. So this one is much more similar to that one there, almost identical. Now this is where you get onto trying to work out which is which, and it's very, very difficult to spot, okay, because when you look at those at first glance there's very little in it to tell the difference. This is an older Repro shell and this is one of the newer ones, and you can see on the newer ones now, it used to be that you could spot by these little rubber inserts because they were silver to try and match, whereas on the original they were a grey, but on the newer ones it's a grey, so it's even closer than it was before. But if you look there, it's well, I don't know if it picks up on the camera, but it's a slightly different shade of silver, and the grey is a little bit darker, it's a bit lighter on the original. It's so hard to tell even when they're side by side, so when they're separated and you've only got one there, it's really hard to tell which is which. Okay, so there's a few things that can help us on the way. First of all, the main giveaway. Okay, so if in all other cases you can't work out the difference, this is the key thing, because everything else is the same in terms of the moulding, very similar in the colours and the other parts, but take a look at the start and select button. Okay, now this one, look at the scratches on the top there, this is my original. Okay, now where the start and select button are, there's like a little recess, a little rebate, so you can get in and press your finger on those. On the original there is a flat area of 1.5 millimeters, 2 millimeters that comes away from the button before it starts to slope up. On the copies, that area is much smaller and the sloping area is bigger. I'll just put those side by side so you can see. Alright, so at a glance the original has more of a flat area, the copy is more of a slope. Okay, so that is your main sort of fail safe. So if like I saw a little while ago, one of these Zelda ones I saw in CEX, and it was out on display like that in the cabinet, so you couldn't tell if the top was scratched or not. I could tell straight away that it was a copy because it's a slightly different shade of gold that I was familiar with. This is a more orangey gold, and it's slightly paler on the original, but that's just because I'm used to seeing them and I could spot that straight away. But the other dead giveaway is look straight at the start and select, because if you're looking on there you can see that that starts to slope up right next to the button instead of having that flattened area. The other things that you can look for is the quality of the moulding, because of course things like the shades of colour, they are slightly different. Okay, so you've got a slightly browner grey and this is a slightly more purple grey on the copy there. The red is a little bit deeper on the buttons, it's a little bit pinker on the copy, but again that can vary from one copy to another. One of the things though is the quality of the moulding. The main spot to look is on top of the hinge here, okay, because I think that must be a bit of an awkward one to get moulded neatly. If you look in the original there, that is absolutely perfect, dead smooth, and on most of the copies near there, particularly at the point where it gets right to the centre, there's a little bit of excess plastic, it looks a little bit untidy. So even though these look really authentic, that is a bit to look for. Okay, so first glance on top, is there a little bit of excess plastic there? If not, like on this Mario one here, of course we've got a few scratches, but look in there, that's absolutely perfect. Looking at my SpongeBob shell, however, I look there, there's a little bit of excess plastic. So although the SpongeBob and the NES are some of the best ones I've seen, even then you can tell from time to time. Okay, again, SpongeBob one, you've got the smaller area here instead of the larger space next to the start and select. Right, what else have we got? Okay, so although that is our rule of thumb, with the wider space and less of the sloping edges on the original, there's some clear ones that have come along recently that have a different mould to the other sort of Repro ones that you'll find, and they do have a flatter area, however they're clear. The lettering on the A and B buttons are a bit bolder. There's a few other differences, the fact that I don't think, to my knowledge, that they brought out any original clear ones, so you're pretty safe. And I think these moulds are just being used with the clear shells at the moment. It's a different type of plastic, so maybe it's a different type of mould that's needed. Another thing you might find is that the Nintendo logo is a little bit strange on some of them when you compare it to an original, but even then I've seen copies that have a really good Nintendo logo on them. But that is just these clear plastic ones, and I really like the clear plastic ones. This one's got a little insert in there as well, which is kind of cool, so you don't see all the back of the screen. It looks quite neat. This one I don't think was ever an original release, so I don't think you're going to find an original Super Famicom one, but again we can tell that that one is a copy. The moulding sometimes around the edge of the screen is a little uneven. On the originals that'll be dead straight, really crisp. I mean, these were expensive pieces of kit originally, so you're less likely to get any inaccuracies in terms of the moulding, whereas on these, that's not bad. If I look at that one there, just along the bottom there, that line, I don't know whether it's how it's attached to the mould, but on the Repro ones, that line's sometimes a little uneven. Okay. The Pikachu ones turn up a lot because obviously everybody loves Pokemon, and the Pikachu edition stuff looks great. There's an easy way to spot with those. The original had brown buttons and the Repro ones tend to have red or black buttons. Again, we've got the start, select, recess mainly being the sloping edge and not much of the flat. But the thing with this one is the plastic that's used. It's kind of translucent, so when you look here you can kind of see where the speaker's placed. If you look on the top, you can kind of see the outline of the back of the screen there. You wouldn't have had that on the original. It's a much more solid plastic, but with lots of the others that's not necessarily the case. That's not something that you can spot. Another thing, particularly with the NES edition, the way that logo is printed on, or I think it's actually like a separate sticker. It's like a slightly textured sticker that's put on. On the original, the holes are very, very even around the speaker opening, and that's quite hard to position. So with the Repro ones it's a little less accurate. I think this one's printed, maybe a sticker, but the holes don't quite line up the same. Same on that one there, but it's pretty close. I mean, side by side they do look very, very similar. So if you are making one yourself where these hinges break, or a really scratched up Game Boy, and you can make it look really, really brilliant and something that you're going to enjoy playing on. So it's really nice to know that if you do buy these Repro shells, they look good. But if you see one that's just for sale, someone's trying to sell it, particularly with these, like with the original NES ones and SpongeBob and Pikachu, or this Mario one, they can be quite expensive, and you don't want to part with that sort of money for something that's not legit. So it's good to know and be able to spot which is which. So to sum up, look at the label at the back first of all. Does it match the screen that's in there? Can you spot which is the 001 screen and the 101 screen, or indeed one of the IPS screens? Secondly, look at the start and select buttons. Look at the little rebate around those areas. That's an easiest way to spot. And thirdly, just the general quality of the mold, particularly that little area on the top right there. You'll be able to spot if it looks crisp, it's probably a new one. And finally, if it's one of the special editions, it's been around for a while, there's probably a little bit of wear on top, so that's a dead giveaway as well, unless someone's got a Repro and been particularly clumsy with it. And maybe I wouldn't suggest sanding them down as a modding option to make them look more authentic, although I have seen that with guitars, so we'll see if that ends up being the case with Game Boys, who knows. So now you know. If you see one of these out in the wild, you'll know if you're getting a new one, or you know if you're getting an original one. But either way, if you can get these things at a good price, I mean, how awesome are they? If you're shelling them yourselves, good luck with that. I've got a few other videos that'll show you how to do it. In the meantime, I'll get on and start sorting out a few more videos, and hopefully you'll see more from me soon. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers. Bye.